Lights are out on the safety car. And GRIDLIFE Midwest Festival, the site of the second ever Eibach GLTC race in 2019, is going to host the first race of 4 this weekend for the premier GRIDLIFE Wheel-to-Wheel Racing Championship. Eric Magnussen in the gold BMW on the front row, alongside the 484 Matan Rosenberg. We're going to get the green flag at the further flag stand down here towards turn 1, waiting for the green flag to fly. There it goes. We're underway. Eibach GLTC at GingerMan and Midwest Festival is green.
Yeah, Baton stuck it out on the outside of Magnussen. Magnussen chose the inside line of 1, and now he's going to be stuck on the outside of Matan as he gets more overlap, and he outdrives him on the exit of 2.
Through turn 2 now, it's really tight. Look at this, 3 wide here. Joel Morrison's in the middle. Jonathan Lugod up wide. There's a little bit of smoke coming from one car there. Was it the 2 of Aaron Grimm? And for the lead, here comes the 44 to the inside. He's managed to keep the overlap, leaving turn 3, and they're still side by side for the lead, down to 5.
Yeah, and they're still side by side on the second row as well, but now Eric has pulled the gap out. Matan remains overlapped, or maintains overlap on Eric Magnussen into 5.
Tight squeeze here for everybody. This is where the track narrows up a little bit. Double apex left-hander into 6, now up to 7, where you have to ride that rim here. Who's going to come out ahead as they make their way through that corner?
Still
that leads
3 wide
in.
back there, coming out of 6.
And they're still side by side for the lead, but Magnussen is going to have it for now. See if Rosenberg can tuck up underneath. He cannot. Now Magnussen holds the lead in the gold M3.
And now that leaves the space for Eric to come in. As those two slow each other up and defend against each other, Eric's going to come in. He's licking his chops trying to get into this fight.
Andy Smedegard there in the 212. We'll keep an eye on him in that FA24 swap. FRS, the black car running P4. That's a very strong start for that car. I think it's the highest we've really seen it run.
Yeah, that's a really impressive start from Andy Smedegard, and Paul Darling has taken 5th place from Meadows. So we'll see if they can maintain that tight gapping all the way through. They're still really close together. The top 6 looks like are all really close together still. Yeah,
lap 1, Magnussen comes across the stripe, leads by 4 or 5/10 of a second. Side by side, Waldbaum and Marchev into turn 1. That's a battle for 7th place. Then a little further back, Dana Basinski and Jensen for 12th.
That was Cathers on Peter Zhang into 1. Magnussen still with a big lead over Matan. Now they're heading into 3. They're opening up a little bit of a gap to Coutil in 3rd, and Smedegard is kind of right behind him. Paul Darling right behind Smedegard as well.
Yeah, overtaking is always challenging here at GingerMan Raceway. It's a narrow racetrack, and Marchev and Waldbaum have been side by side that entire first sector.
Yeah, the 2 S2000 bros. Marchev took a little bit of a dirt drop on the inside of 3.
Lena Chin, Jackie Ding, that's a little bit further. That's 10th place battling now. They're going to come into the shot bottom of the screen there, the blue and orange car. And then Jackie chasing Blake Korth, new to Eibach GLTC this weekend. Young driver, still in school. Up the inside, Ding took a look at Lena Chin, but too shallow of an entry to make anything happen.
Yeah, we've kind of got this top 10 separated into 2 groups. The top 5 are kind of in their own grouping here, separated by about 2 seconds, and then the 6 through 10 is separated by about 1.5 seconds. So we got 2 really tight battles here, fighting it out in the top 10.
Yeah, this is great. Korth again. That's the Aaron Lichty Porsche Cayman. Lena Chin, Jackie Ding, Dana Basinski. What a battle here. Look at all these different cars in this shot.
Yeah, I wonder if Matt Waldbaum is the cork in the bottle here, keeping the pace down for those behind him, but it looks like he's kind of starting to get a gap to Marchev behind him. Meanwhile, the top 5 are separated by about 2 seconds from this group.
Yeah, there's Eric Meadows in the number 3, chasing Paul Darling in the 55, a Michigan local driver. Here comes Meadows up the inside at turn 1. Will he have a look? Will he have the pass? Here they come, door to door. Meadows, tight squeeze there through that opening turn. Darling out to the rumbles, but he's going to have the inside for turn 2.
Yeah, and Darling's going to try and maintain overlap to keep that position from Meadows. Meanwhile, Marchev tried to make a move on Waldbaum into 1, but looks like Waldbaum stayed ahead of him.
Yeah, it's still door to door into 3. Can Darling keep overlap on Meadows? He does. Great, clean, fair racing. Great example of what the expectation is here. We don't like doing body work, and these boys won't have to do any as long as they keep racing like this. Meadows takes the spot.
Yeah, Paul jumps in line behind him. He knows that if he tries to fight Meadows in 5 and 6, he's just going to lose time to the people in front of him. So they got to work together to try and catch the top 4 again.
So it looks like Darling will give up the spot to Meadows in that 6th position.
Yeah, they're definitely going to try and stay in touch with the top 4. They don't really have to worry about right now about 7th through 10th. They've got 3 seconds. Does Paul Darling have to wall bomb? So they're going to try and kind of work together and make their way up to the top 4.
A little surprised that we haven't seen Catil put more pressure on Rosenberg yet, but Matan is closing in. How about a battle deeper in the field here?
Chandler on Azmuth Muhammad. He's trying to maintain overlap in 7th on the outside. That's really nice to see from Chandler, who just barely got his car working again. He didn't come out for qualifying, so this is a great run for him.
Yeah, very simple looking car too. Alongside Muhammad, they're really tight.
Side by side into 8. That's brave.
That is very brave. And behind them, watching this, is Jonathan Lugot, all the way from California in that Honda Del Sol. The Natalie Lato's right behind as well in the MX-5. And here's the Louis Chatroop driven machine, the E36 BMW versus the E46 of Kyle Hale.
Yeah, and again, Chatroop, on the outside of 11, looks like I love that move. Tries to stay, he overcooked it just a little bit. Hale stayed really tight, but Chatroop had such a wide line that he didn't lose any time there.
Yeah, a little bit of a tap on the brakes there to avoid pad knockback after jumping around on some of these curves and things. Just reset, make sure you've got braking assistance into turn 1. And for the lead, Rosenberg had a swipe at the 330, but he wasn't quite close enough to do anything with it. So
I think he's just trying to show the nose to Magnussen to see if he can get him to make a small mistake and catch up to him. Meanwhile, Coutil is a little bit lost touch with those guys, but he's got quite a gap to Smedgaard in 4th.
Yeah, I mean, he's still close enough that things could come back his way if those heavier cars start to use up their tires, which we have seen in the past be how these bigger cars lose races. So can Catil reel him in? Here is Eric Jensen, Robert Thorne, and James Smith all battling for position into 7.
Yeah, and it looks like those guys lost a little bit of positioning through the field as Chin and Ding made their way up. But Dana's made his way up all the way into 11th there, showing his experience in a little bit less experience of a group.
Jensen, big slip. Here comes Thorne to the inside. Oh, Thorne jumped the curb at 9.
He's still side by side into 10B. That's brave. Gives him the inside. That's good. Clean racing from those two.
Saw the right front wheel almost lock up on Robert Thorne's car. The wheel speed slowing up there, maybe ABS kicking in. But now it's a drag race up the backstretch between the LS Swap FRS and the K-Swap S2000.
Yeah, they maintain overlap into there. Really late break from Robert Thorne, much later than Jensen.
This car, Trainer 3, the ASM car, has always been really good on the brakes. Think back a couple years ago to Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. It was like a full marker that Tom O'Gorman was able to stomp on the binders. And here's Lena Chin and Dana Basinski side by side for 10th.
Dana really sending it on the inside of 1. Got that overlap, but then he backed out of it. He didn't have the drive coming out of 1 and lost the position into 2.
Yeah, new livery for Lena Chin this year. That car is the same car, but different vinyl on it. Basinski's going to try the long way around at 3. What a dive on the outside. Can he make it stick there?
Yeah, Lena being a little bit too defensive into 3, and she loses drive. Now they're side by side and heading into 4.
Oh, look at this battle, door to door. And Basinski clears Lena Chin and picks up 10th place.
Yeah, that's a really good move from Dana, but he slows up a little bit, cuts too much radius between 5 and 6 and really slows up. Lena's going to try and get overlap into 7th, but not enough.
Has Eric Magnussen ever won a race? I don't know that he has. This might be his first one if he's able to hang on. I don't want to speak it out of existence, but I will go back and look at my stats.
Yeah, meanwhile, Lena and Dana are still fighting it out for that 10th place spot, that last in the top 10. As they come into 10B, Dana has really pulled a gap a little bit on Lena. We'll see if she can come back throughout this next lap. And Magnussen has opened up a huge gap to Matan, who's now going into the clutches of Eric Coutil behind him.
Yeah, he has not won a race before, and he's on the biggest stage in grid life. He's on the biggest stage in grassroots road racing at the moment. And Coutil is reeling in Rosenberg. So the battle might be for 2nd, and side by side here for Meadows and Smedgaard for 4th.
Yeah, Meadows has left Paul Darling behind and caught up to Smedgaard. Jumps out of the overlap into 1. We'll see if he can try and create a move here later on this lap or the next one.
Yeah, Andy doing a nice job here in this car. Very different formula with that F824 Subaru power plant, but it's holding its own right now. But can it hold it against Eric Meadows in that number 3 Corvette up the inside here?
Meadows has more drive out of 2, got that overlap, and now he's forcing Smedgaard to the outside of 3.
Yeah, and Smedgaard didn't leave him a ton of space there. He left him about a car with plus 3 inches, and Meadows got the car to fit there, but again, I think great defensive maneuvers here from
side by side into 5. That's brave.
Yeah, and I think Andy's going to win that battle for the moment, but again, the torque. Watch that Corvette leave the corner.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right
he
here.
gets a better drive. Look at how much he closes the gap midway to 7. That's not a long straightaway from 6 to 7. Meanwhile, Paul Darling is watching all this unfold in front of him, and he's going to try and get into this fight himself. Matt Walbaum is right behind him, also closing that gap.
Yeah, a little bit of a dust cloud kicked up. Great racing here in Eibach GLTC at Midwest Festival. This is so fun to watch. Battles all through the field in this 41-car race.
Yeah, meanwhile, Robert Thorne has caught up to the back of Jackie Ding. He was really pressuring him into 11, so we'll see when they come back around if he made that move happen.
Yeah, up the backstretch now. Smedegaard built himself a bit of a gap, but the Corvette is so much more slippery. Very low frontal drag, and here comes Eric. It's not even going to be a battle, at least until they get to the braking zone. That's where Smedegaard's FRS is going to have the advantage, and leaving the corner, throttles up again. Great defense there by Smedegaard here.
Yeah, a lot later braking than Meadows there, as it looks like that IS-250 is out in the grass, and no overlap here, so Andy's doing a really great job maintaining his position. Meanwhile,
look at this, Pagano and Zach Lavoie side by side into 11.
BMW violence.
Yeah, this is fantastic stuff here. M3 versus 116i. Again, that 155 Pagano has is a Japanese market car right-hand drive, so he had a lot of distance between himself and Zach, even though they were door-to-door.
And Jensen has caught up to them, so Jensen's going to try and make that a three-way fight.
James Cathers also in the mix there with Ryan Power, and here comes Jensen, as you pointed out, alongside Zach Lavoie. Those are good buddies.
Yeah.
Oh, Pagano, trouble, slow, he's broken something, flashes the lights, Jensen goes by.
Yeah, that was very fortunate that they avoided contact there. I wonder what happened there. Smedgaard has lost the position to Meadows.
You know, I wonder if there's something going on.
Here comes Paul.
Yeah, because that car, it accelerates initially very well out of the corner, but when he gets to the next gear, I'm not sure if it's a gearing issue, but it just stops accelerating relative to the other cars around. I know it doesn't make as much power, but there's still the way that it's accelerating makes me think that there's something, and he's chasing. Look at Meadows sideways.
Yeah, that's not a good place. You want to go sideways. He's going to lose a lot of time heading into 10B. Let's see if Andy can capitalize. He does. Brakes later onto the outside of 10B, but not enough to maintain it. He's going to over-under him on the exit of 10B, and Paul Darling is right there to try and take advantage of it as well.
Tried to over-under, but it did not stick, and Paul Darling hounding now Smedegaard for a 5th position. They head up the back straightaway towards 11. I see Adam Jabay with 2 radios, but no white flags, so we're still got racing to go here.
It definitely seems like Andy doesn't quite have the drive. Andy Smedgaard doesn't quite have the drive at the end of the straightaway. I'm not sure what it is, if he's losing some power, but it's really letting everybody kind of, he's getting a little bit mauled from Paul Darling and Meadows.
Yeah, and we saw the 155 of Pagano with whatever issue he had pulled off track safely to the side. 3 minutes to go in this race.
Great job.
Everywhere.
Great job to pull off and kind of keep the session going green for his fellow competitors there.
Seth Gale, Dai Win. This is a little bit deeper in the field at the moment, heading up the back stretch.
Yeah, and Chandler Rowe making up a lot of positions with his drive. Such a great job for him. And now Matt Walbaum is trying to bring the fight to Paul Darling as well.
Yeah, Walbaum closing in. Here's the battle for second. Matan Rosenberg and Eric Kittil. And just this easily, with this position swap, this changes the championship lead. Now we still have 3 more races after this, but this is how tight things are. One position over the other swaps the season-long championship battle. Eric Kittil is a past champion, 2020. Matan Rosenberg, your reigning champion from last year. Jeremy Swenson beat him to 2 championships, but someone else would like to join him up on the multi-champion position in this Eibach GridLife Touring Cup Championship.
Now, the interesting thing will be is whether Eric is going to back out and try and set a fast lap, because the next race is set by fastest lap time in this race. So we'll see if they're going to play that strategy. Both of them, Matan is pretty disconnected from Magnussen, so he's probably going to try and cool a little bit of his car down and try and get that fast lap.
And one more lap to go. White flag for Eric Magnussen. 2.2 miles left to pick up his first ever Eibach GLTC win. Can Rosenberg hang on to second, because Kittil is coming?
Yeah, absolutely. And throughout the field, it looks like they've kind of gapped themselves a little bit more. Tony Marchev is trying to make a move on Matt Walbaum into 1.
Yeah, great battle there, even deeper in the field. Back to the Zach Lavoie and Jensen battle that put on pause because Jensen had to navigate around Pagano. Something flapping on the front nose of Jensen's car. I'm not sure if it's significant or not, but it could be a distraction at the very best.
Yeah, and now these guys are going to come to their white flag. They got one more lap to sort this out.
Ooh, here's
and there's
that
Marchev on the inside of 7. Oh, overcooks it. And Matt can't complete that over-under because Marchev just comes out and cuts him off on the outside, not on purpose. He just overbraked himself.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Marchev went in there knowing he was going to make that pass. Whether or not he went off at the end of it, I don't know. But and Waldbaum's going to tuck back underneath him. Not quite. Didn't get there. Magnussen only has a sector left to go. Came onto the scene at Circuit of the Americas last year. Relatively unknown name to me, but has won and been a champion in other spin. Turn 6, not quite. Jackie Ding hangs on to it. I thought he was going to go around, but he slinged it and kept it on course. But as I was saying about Magnussen, you know, consistent front runner in this championship. He has yet to win a race, but he's got one more straightaway to get there.
Yeah, and Dana is hounding, that's Korth. He's hounding Korth into 8. Let's see if he can complete a move into 11. We'll keep an eye on that, but as we see Magnussen coming to that last turn.
And last couple of corners here, Erik Magnussen been denied victory a number of times. It will not be today. The gold BMW from second on the, actually pole on the field, comes across the line, wins an Eibach GLTC for the first time. Rosenberg, Catil, second and third. And here comes the rest of the field. In the last corner, Matt Waldbaum and Tony Marchev still slinging it as they head through the last turn to the stripe. Who's it going to be between Waldbaum, between Marchev? It will be Waldbaum that wins the war. Marchev only the battle. Basinski and Korth, 9th and 10th. They swap spots there.
Yeah, Dana got that 9th position from Korth on that last lap, so great run for him. And there's Sam Scott coming in, I believe that's 12 for 13, so great run for him as well.
Yeah, there's Ryan Power, James Cathers, that's for 17th place. They also swap positions on the final lap. Eric Jensen down the order a little ways. I think he was fighting some issues. Again, freshly rebuilt car. Jack Wishmeyer all the way from California. Lavoie, Chatroop, Dalla Riva. There's Mendez and Morrison, Tulo and Hale, Thomas Lathrop, and more. What a race, Ido Waxman.
Yeah, that was a really great race. It was not just the top 3 that were kind of fighting each other. It was a battle for 4th. It was a battle for 7th. It was a battle for 10th, 13th, 12th, everything through the field. Really fun to watch.
Yeah, super, super fun. Now, here's the fun part, is provisional results. As always in Eibach GLTC, a couple of these cars, including the top 3, are going to go on the scales post-race, and they have to make sure that they pass power to weight. So Erik Magnussen, really impressive drive, won by, you know, a sizable margin relative to what we're used to. So again, that will be, you know, you just hold your breath every time. How close do you cut it? But Erik Magnussen wins his first race in Eibach GLTC. I don't want to say comfortably, because any mistake would have dragged him right back into the Rosenberg-Catil fight, but a very strong effort, and he did not think that this was the track for this car.
Yeah, great drive from Magnussen here to really had a pretty faultless race. Stayed well ahead of the fight behind him between Matan and Eric. So he might be the spoiler here this weekend between those two. We'll see how fastest lap times shake out here to establish grid for race 2.
Yeah, man, up the backstretch. On the cool down lap, we'll have a look at our results here in just a moment's time, but at 3:30, BMW got it done, didn't he?
Yeah, he really did the double 330. He's got a number plate and the big numbers on the side of him. Really great job from Erik Magnussen. And then it looks like Catil closed that gap to Matan towards the end of that last lap. So we'll see how they line up again in race 2. It's going to be really interesting to see which of these drivers kind of gapped themselves and had the wherewithal to try and make this fast lap in this first race.
Well, again, Eibach GLTC race 1, that was a fun one. Erik Magnussen gets it done by 0.8 of a second in this 9-lap race. Eric Catil, Eric Meadows, Andy Smedegard, your top 5, chasing Matan Rosenberg, who was P2. Then Darling, Waldbaum, Marchev, Basinski, and on debut, top 10 for Blake Korth.
Yeah, great drive from Blake Korth in that former Aaron Lichty Cayman. Just kind of goes to show you what a great talent there and a great car. Yeah, very strong top 10 run there. Then off to 11th through 20th. Lena Chin, Robert Thorne in the 917 and 80 car. Sam Scott, very impressive drive there in that NC MX-5. Peter Zhang came up just short at Laguna Seca last year for his first race win, 14th today. Jackie Ding said top 20, top 15 would do it. 15th place. Yeah, that's a great job. And Jim Smith in 16th. He wasn't expecting himself to be that high up. Ryan Power in 17th. James Cathers in 18th. Eric Jensen in 19th. And Jack Wishmeyer in 20th. Yeah, lovely. Nicely done there. Zach Lavoie back in Eibach GLTC, 21st place. Louis Chatroop, 22nd. Eric Dalla Riva. Carlos Mendez, Joel Morrison, your top 25, with Joe Tulo, Kyle Hale, Thomas Lathrop, Clayton Fitzpatrick, and Kerry James rounding out your top 30. And look down the rest of the order. Some great battles here. Chandler Rowe, impressive drive. Yeah, gained 7 spots there, all the way from the back of the grid to come into 33rd. Asmith Muhammad in 34th. Natalie Latoz in 35. Jonathan Lugot in 36. Dan Precourt Newport in 37th. Michael Pagano, 38th. Didn't finish the race, but kept it far enough off track to keep the race green. Daniel Gerardo in 39th and Ayrton Grimm in 40th. Unfortunate for him.
Yeah, this must have been a mechanical issue for that car. So little Shukla in 41st place didn't make it back to the stripe after lap number 1. Well, that was a fun one. And man, what a race. There were some great battles, and let's have a look at the highlights for Eibach GLTC Race 1. On the start, pole sitter in the 330, Eric Magnussen and Matan Rosenberg. An excellent fight between these two on the opening lap.
Yeah, and that's a tricky start, having the green flag so late right before the corner. I think Eric got a little bit of a better start there than Matan did.
Yeah, side by side between Paul Darling and Eric Meadows. Meadows won that battle. Dai Win, Azmat Muhammad, and Chandler Rowe fighting a bit deeper in the field. Out in front, though, it just became a chase of that gold BMW. And Matan Rosenberg couldn't really get close. But here's Jensen, a bit of a slide, and here comes Robert Thorne and James Smith into the party with their S2000s.
Ooh, taking lots of curbing there did Robert Thorne, and Magnussen opening up that big gap as we have Pagano and Zach Lavoie fighting it out into 2 before Pagano ran into some issues, unfortunately.
And here's Andy Smedegaard again battling with Eric Meadows. This was a fun fight to watch for a couple laps. 2 very different ways on how to go fast in Eibach GLTC. But Eric Magnussen still up the road. Battle for second, heated up a bit at the end, but Eric Magnussen won his first ever Eibach GLTC race on the biggest stage in grassroots racing.